everyone. My name is Corinne Canter and I work with Human Synergistics Australia. And I welcome you to our Celebrating Women series of interviews for International Women's Day, which we have made a month. We didn't think one day was enough to celebrate some wonderful women. Before we begin, I'd like to acknowledge traditional custodians of the land of wherever it is that you are working, where I'm working, and also pay my respects to elders past and present. So 2021 finds us and our global community in the midst of a history-making pandemic where how we work and how we live has never been so different and has dramatically and significantly changed. And never has the need for inclusivity of diversity been so important as it is right now. For women, the news is mixed. On the one hand, we are still underrepresented in leadership. We have 18% of women are in CEO positions, despite 47% of the workforce being female. In recent times, that's changing. We've had 45.5% of new ASX board positions be appointed to women, and women are also far exceeding secondary and tertiary education. So a bit of a mixed bag, and we're in the midst of recent news on the goings and happenings of Parliament. However, there are a number of stories to celebrate, one of which is Lisa Weightman, who joins me today. So welcome, Lisa. It's great to have you on our very first International Women's Month series. So I know a little bit about you, but I think it'd be great if you could tell us about yourself and what you do.
Thanks, Corinne. Great to be here and lovely to see you again. We've had lots of wonderful conversations over the last couple of years with the work that you guys have done for IBM. And yeah, it's lovely to be part of this opportunity to celebrate International Women's, not just day, month, as you said. So thanks for having me on. I'm a business transformation consultant and a hybrid cloud program manager at IBM. I also dabble a little bit into our people and culture stream, and we've been, having a lot of fun in that area, and really have made inroads into some of our culture transformation, which has been a fantastic experience for me. On top of that, I'm an Olympic marathon runner, and I'm a dual Commonwealth Games medalist in the marathon. And hopefully, if all goes well, I'll be representing Australia in my 4th Olympic Games this year.
Awesome.
So it's been a pretty big decade, really, of combining life as an IBMer and life as an Olympic athlete, but certainly one that has proven to give me so much joy and some wonderful life experiences. To add that to that, I'm a mum of a 6-year-old boy, full of energy and lots of fun. And that's probably the thing that is something that I'm most proud of, being mum and really helping him, navigate the journey of life.
It has been a big decade, hasn't it, when you throw in having a baby, now you've got a 6-year-old. Are you able to tell us 3 things that would most give us an insight into you?
Well, the biggest one, given my history in the sport, is that I won't be told that I can't do something. So as a younger athlete, you tend to be put in a box at times of how well people think you're going to perform. And I was told a few times that I wouldn't be an elite Australian level marathon runner. And here I am about to potentially run the 4th Olympics for our country. So I definitely won't be told that I can't do something. I think one thing is I'm definitely not a superhero. I think if you jump on social media, you seem to really get the highlight reel of most people's lives. We all, sort of aspire to be able to do everything at any given time. And I'm just not prepared to give up on a whole lot of my kind of achievements along the way. But I do have to give myself a break and from time to time and realize that, trying to aspire to be everything that everyone appears to be out there at a given moment is a tough ask. So definitely not a superhero. And the other piece about me is that I certainly give more than I receive. So that can be, is fabulous for helping others, but it also can be quite exhausting. So yeah, I try to give myself a bit of a break these days, but you'll always get more from me than you'll give me. So yeah, it's an interesting but rewarding life that I lead.
Brilliant. And I'm interested in what you've said. So I want to hear a bit about the journey, but I'm interested in, as a younger Lisa, being told, having this passion for running, and obviously at some point being told that you'll never make a marathon runner. I mean, do you remember the first time that was said to you? And I'm curious about what kept you going. Like, what was it in you that disregarded that and kept going?
Yeah, look, we had, so my sister and I, we grew up in a really sporty family. My dad played AFL football, and then went on to coach, and he brought us along on his journey. And so we really developed skills without even realizing it as children, listening to his quarter time speech. My sister and I would like run into the rooms and hide under people's legs because we technically weren't really allowed to be in there. A bit too much swearing and all of that that goes on. And so we'd hide and we'd listen to his speeches, and we didn't know at the time, but we were actually learning a lot about coaching and performance and high performance, and we were learning so much from him. And we also had the opportunity, and obviously that was a very male-dominated environment for two young girls, but we really embraced a lot of the lessons of persistence and never giving up that he was not only giving to us, but telling his footballers about. And so I think that kind of set both of us up for a really positive future, and we would just continue to persist through hard times. But yeah, when I was a younger athlete, I was combining study, a little bit of part-time work, and then on to my career when I graduated, and I was pretty busy trying to do everything. The athletes that I was competing against at that junior ranks, a lot of them tended to put their eggs into the one running basket. And so I was constantly juggling these different aspects of my life, and I wasn't recovering very well. And so I'd get injured quite regularly and never really progressed to that next level as an elite junior. And so I was told back when I was in sort of my early 20s that, I was an okay runner, but you're really not gonna make it to where you want to get to. And someone actually said to me, "Oh, and you've had so many injuries, why don't you just quit running and just maybe you should buy a bike and take up triathlon?" And that was baffling to me because I was quite time poor, obviously combining, all the different aspects of my life at that stage. And I thought, gee, being a triathlete, isn't that worse than just focusing on one discipline? But yeah, so I did buy a bike actually to help me get through some of my injuries. I had something like 8 stress fractures in 9 years. So it was pretty crazy. Trying to combine that and just get through that, gut-wrenching feeling of kind of losing control again in terms of that goal and not being able to put the training in and get to the racing. And so I bought the bike, but the bike is in pristine condition because I haven't ridden it all that much.
You kept running. Awesome.
That's right, I kept running, yeah. And look, I just kept trying new things. So I'd get injured and, people wouldn't, I wouldn't be at that level where I was, able to move into that support structures that we have in Australian sport. And so I'd constantly be battling, trying to combine everything to try and get to that next moment and hit that, hit that next goal. And it wasn't until I was in sort of my mid to late 20s that things started to turn. I had tried so many different things, and each time I'd been injured or disappointed or told I can't, I would try something else. And the support team that I had around me would really give me a lift and give me different opportunities to trial new things. And then eventually, as I became an older athlete, and sort of about 27, I made some world championship teams and started to represent Australia in cross country and road. And then it wasn't until 2008 where I ran my first marathon in London, and that's when I qualified for the Beijing Olympics and started the journey as a marathoner. And so even then, I wasn't in any support structures. I wasn't looked at as, Australia's best by any means in the marathon. And then since then, I've basically just been progressing, improving, replanning and prioritizing things in my life to be able to get more and more training done and do it at a much more consistent and high performing level, and more support comes from that. And so it's a bit one thing feeds another. And now I'm 42 and about to run the 4th Olympics, and I am training harder than I ever have before, and producing times and running records that I never really thought that I even was capable of, because I'd been kind of told I was never going to get there. So it's pretty exciting to be where I am right now. And certainly don't know where the journey is going to end, but we'll keep going until the body and mind kind of says, all right, that's enough. It's time to move on to a new goal.
Yeah. Look, listening to you, it's so amazing. And not just what you've achieved, but the persistence, the commitment of just really keeping on going. And the International Women's Day hashtag was choose challenge, and it just seems like you really did and continue to with your running. But tell us a little bit more about your broader journey, your career.
I started traditional working, IT life as a coder. So back in about 2000, I think I graduated, and I was working as an intern in the lead up in that last year of my schooling. And I really enjoyed, I selected the course I chose because it was a business info systems degree. And at the time, when you're so young, you don't really know what you want to do with the rest of your life. So I thought the best thing to do is to pick a degree that gives me that pathway to really do anything after that. So most careers, you need a business kind of outlook. If you want to start your own business, you want to work in administration, if you want to work with technology, that backbone of technology and business together really sets you up for any career. So that was the choice I made there, to really create that sort of safe structure, and then give me that time to work out then after that what I was passionate about. I think, and I moved into an opportunity to work with PricewaterhouseCoopers as an intern, and then really enjoyed the people. So the thing that's kept me in this career has not been the excitement of technology at all. It's been completely about the experiences of going into a new client, working with a new team of people, making friends, helping them overcome challenges, helping them, coaching them through the journey of an implementation, and then just making friends that are my lifelong friends along the way. So that is what's kept me in the career, on the career journey that I'm on now. And that's and in my current role, it's giving me, I'm really sort of tapping more into that high performance coaching, creating more and more opportunities to make a difference in others' careers. And that's really the bit that I'm passionate about, more so than, the latest technology. The good thing that I have that in the background, and I know all about hybrid cloud, and I can deliver programs with that technology, but it's really about seeing the excitement on the others' faces, the people in my team when they really achieve something amazing or learn something new, and drive their own careers. That I'm most passionate about these days.
Yeah, awesome. So just on that theme, I guess you're thinking about your journey over time, and imagine that you met your 20-year-old self, your 20 1-year-old self, what advice would you give her knowing what you know now?
The number one thing I would say is to ask for what you want. So I was pretty shy as a little girl. When I was really little, I was one of those children that would hide behind my mum's legs if anyone, and poke my head out from behind her legs whenever anyone ever tried to say hello. I was really shy.
Yeah.
And it took, and I think sport helped get that out of me and really give me confidence to put myself out there, because I was always putting myself in these difficult situations in a race and putting pressure on myself to achieve. So growing up as a really shy child, I never really asked for anything. I always waited till someone would tell me I could have what I wanted. And I was always sort of in the background. And so now I would definitely say that I would ask for what I want rather than waiting and missing opportunities.
Yeah.
And, the worst that can happen is people say no to you. And then you may pivot and ask again at the right time. And then things down the track, you might actually get what you want down the track. I don't know if that's a general, female thing, or whether it's, for me, it was more about confidence and fear of being told no. But yeah, that's definitely the number one thing I would sort of push myself to do, now.
Sorry, I was just wondering, it was something that obviously you learnt to do. Do you recall either, and I'm putting you on the spot, I know, but I was interested, do you recall either the time when you first asked for what you wanted and that you realised you needed to?
Yeah, that's a good one. I think there's been a couple of times. There's been a couple of times where I've asked and I've been told no, which, I can recall that. I guess you can record the negatives, can't you, in life, more than you can recall the positives. But I can certainly remember.
Yeah,
that's right. I can certainly remember pre-Commonwealth Games asking for some extra time off and being told at the time that I couldn't have it. And I then pushed further and ended up achieving, close to what I needed, but not quite exactly what I needed. But I think that also pushed me to then ask in different ways and ask for other things. And so, like I said, that sometimes you might get the no, but then you could turn it another way and actually get what you need in the end. It may not be the path you wanted, and it may be fraught with a bit of frustration and that sort of thing, but in the end you kind of get there. So I think that's one time where I've had to kind of pivot and ask in a different way and make and offer other things from my my kit to be able to get to where I needed to get the time I needed for Com Games. But I do remember asking for some things around we don't have a lot of funding in our sport. So despite our athletics being a very traditional sport, especially at Olympic level, there's, it's not something in Australia that many athletes can do full time without someone paying and, parents or husbands, wives helping you get there along the way, because there just isn't the sponsor dollars that you get at footy and rugby and all the other higher profile sports. So I have, certainly asked for some support from other companies who have been able to come to me and say, oh, yeah, after asking and working with them, they've been really keen to sort of give me a little bit of support or provide me with something that's going to help. Like this year particularly, there's been a few companies that have been amazing to me, given I'm funding my sport myself, I'm funding all my camps, I'm funding, everything through my, through my job. And to be running at Olympic level, there's certain things that you do need to help recovery, to help training, heat training and various other things. But there's companies like Frank Green, Nordic Track, they've, ASICS, they've come on board. And after me asking for some help, they have really been excited to help this person who's like what if the founder Ben of Frank Green said to me, oh, I'm really excited to help you, Lisa, because you're just an Aussie that's having a really red hot go at something. And so, yeah, so that for me was a really positive, even though, you know, I'm not, I'm not operating as a full-time athlete like those I'm competing against on the world stage. They're all full-time athletes with a career as an athlete. Having people, you know, Australians, companies help you and get on board is really helpful. So yeah, that's been quite a positive for me.
Awesome. I love that. You're just an Aussie that's having a red hot go. A very Australian way to put it as well.
That
Isn't
is
it? True.
very
Yeah.
Australian. Yeah.
So talking about having a red hot go and thinking about women in general, what kind of gains do you think women have made in the workforce in the world? And what do you think, what work is there left to do and to achieve?
Yeah, look, I think from when we were children, like even watching movies from back when, you know, my mum was my age, and, you know, you really see the difference if you go back and watch TV shows and movies, the difference working life, the different working life my mum had compared to what I have now and the opportunities I have. And so you tend to sort of go, wow, look how far we've come. But then if you look into that further, you also say, wow, it's, you know, yes, we should, you know, it's the female thing to turn around and say, oh, I'm so grateful for these opportunities that I have now. But we shouldn't necessarily be thinking that way. We should be thinking even the other way. It's like, why did that happen? And why did, you know, that should never have been, you know, when you watch, you know, these old movies and things. And so I think we definitely still have a long way to go, but it has the focus now, which, you know, in the past, you know, we sort of, like I said earlier, shy, fearful, not wanting to ask. I think we ask now, and we're supporting each other to make a change. And also as parents, we are teaching our sons and daughters about equality, and we're demonstrating through, you know, I mean, Pete's my son, who's been 6, he had prep at home last year because of our huge lockdown with the virus, and he could see that my husband and I working from home, we were both working equally. We both share the load in terms of chores, and we both look after him and share the load the same, and, you know, we're a real unit. He's growing up in an environment where he doesn't see, you know, mum does all the house chores and dad goes to work. Which is what I grew up with. He's seeing an environment where mum and dad are just the same, and it's, you know, there's not the female male thing. They're just doing the same thing. Sports like football now having, you know, a more exposure for women's football, that obviously helps a lot too, to show the younger generations, you know, what should be the real norm. So I think all of that, and the media plays, you know, quite a huge part in helping with the messaging and, you know, showing women's sport and making it just as important. And so I think all of those things together can really shape things, but it will take time because, you know, as those norms change, as the kids, this generation, get taught those, you know, those values, then they'll bring that to their children, etc., and that will help, you know, help women feel like they're equal.
Yeah, so it's definitely starting young, isn't it? And starting in the home with what our children see.
That's right. That's right.
They take their lessons from what they see as much as from what they hear. And so seeing that their mothers can do a lot, and their fathers are sharing in their care of them. So thinking this year's theme for International Women's Day was, the slogan was #ChooseChallenge. And what does that mean for you? You've had a lot of challenges, but thinking about it, you know, in this year, in this space, what does choose to challenge mean for you?
For me, it anchors us really to a common purpose on how we can bring the change about together. So I think for me, it's throughout my career, I've always felt like I haven't been seen. You know, I'm sort of, even though I am out there on the public's, you know, on television running, even being in that environment, I still feel like I have not necessarily been seen for everything that I can provide in my career. So for me, I choose to challenge for others to see us and to see the benefits and the perspective and positivity that women can bring to a team in solving problems and to create that new beginning that I was talking about. I think the first thing, as I mentioned, is just leading by example through that. And so I challenge, as you can imagine, I challenge myself on a daily basis to produce personal best in pretty much everything that I do and to coach others to do the same thing. And then, you know, and to help them be seen, because the more we kind of work together and push each other to that norm, you know, that's going to be beneficial. We don't want to be the wallflower sitting in the background waiting for someone to notice us and give us that opportunity. We really need to ask, you know, but people need to see us. We need to show them who we are, and that will give us the opportunity to really blossom and really demonstrate our worth and get those opportunities. And if there's something that we want, then we ask. We don't just sit back and wait. And they're sort of the key themes that I'm pretty passionate about.
I love that. So it's really about being visible and coming forward and allowing ourselves to be seen, and I love that, choose to challenge to be seen. Like, it's just be seen, come forward, don't hide, don't blend in the background. So if there was one kind of, it's a related question, but if there was one kind of message you wanted to share with other women and other men as well, but as part of this, you know, Celebrating Women series, what would it be?
I would have to say it would to be limitless. So if someone had told me as a youngster that I was going to make 4 Olympics, win some Commonwealth medals, break records on Australian soil at 42 years of age, I would have just went, you're joking. so don't feel that way. Be limitless. You know, you never really know what you can achieve, man or woman, until you dive in and really challenge yourself. So I'm living proof of that. Yeah, never would have thought that I would get to where I am right now in my sport, given all of the challenges along the way. And now I really do feel kind of free. I feel like I'm not restricted by anyone's thoughts or anyone's motives and their own agendas. I'm just out there doing it my way now. And it gives you a really great sense of freedom, because you're not frightened of failure, and you're just looking for whatever opportunity comes your way to just demonstrate to yourself just how good you can be. So don't put limits on yourself is key.
Love it. And what about the future? Crystal ball, looking into the crystal ball, what's the future got in hold for you, Lisa Weightman?
Well, a lot of people tell me, when you finish this marathon running, are you going to go to ultra marathon running? And I just laugh and say, No, I'm actually going to do the opposite, and I'm going to sit down and read the paper on a Sunday morning with a cuppa. No longer distances that I'm already doing. But yeah, look, in terms of future, I think it's always in me to find, you know, that next level of performance. So, you know, once I've hit my goals from a running perspective, and I feel like I can't run any faster, or I can't, place any higher as an Australian team member, then I'll certainly always continue to coach and mentor others. And I think I will most likely put a lot of my energies into my son and my nephew and my nieces, and helping build their future career journey and help them be the best they can be in life. So I think that's logically where I'll head after running, and also, you know, just drive my corporate